All right, welcome. Welcome, everybody. My name is Patrick Rooney. Welcome to Old School Live. And I am very happy to have everybody here with me today and tonight, or wherever you may be. Could be watching around the world. It could be today somewhere, couldn't it? I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome Mo in the chat, Mind Over Energy. Hello, Mo. And hello, everybody else who is coming in. Fabian and everyone else who's jumping in. Got, I think, a very interesting show tonight. It's something that I wanted to deal with after the Kanye West show last week that we talked about. Yay! And Kanye and his comments about Jews. Brian, hi Brian. You said I'm late. I thought I was. Was I late? I didn't know I was late. I did a countdown. I did some music. It's I don't know, Brian. You might. I don't know what you're thinking. You must be black. You said. Are you saying I'm on CP time? What is that all about? We are going to deal with races tonight. Are some races better than others? That's a controversial question, but it's really just dealing with, again, part of what we dealt with Kanye and Jews. In a sense, the Jews are a race, a religion and a race. And I'm not going to get really deep into Judaism or what is a Jew and what isn't a Jew. I had people send me stuff last week after the show. Kanye is basically saying, black people were the original Jews. And some people say, well, there's a difference between Israelites and Jews. When you get into talking about religion and culture and things like that, people have all these distinctions, and I think we make too many distinctions among ourselves as human beings. I'm a Jew, I'm an Israelite, I'm a particular color. I happen to be white, or I look pink probably to you. White people are not white. I think a lot of white people are just pink. So I'm of European background. My mother was Italian. My dad was Irish, for anybody who wants to know. I think Brian, speaking of that, I think Brian, yours is flipped. Your mother and father were flipped. So mother being Irish and your father Italian. We have people, Fabian saying he doesn't believe it makes a difference. Some people, one race is better than other, and so on and so forth. Greg, welcome, Greg. Greg is here, Greg Gergen. Greg says, I believe the 100-yard dash exceeds the quarter mile. Are you talking about who's faster at those? I don't know. Okay, yeah, Fabian's talking about another topic here. Good evening, Donna Long. Great to see you here. I'm glad to have you in chat. We're going to dealing with something. Donna says, I'm a mutt puppy, a mix of American. I think most of us are, we call us mutts of one kind or another. We all have some mixture of. I've never had that thing done where you check and see exactly what you are, what's your DNA, how much, I know that my mom's side was, had Sicilian in there. So I probably have some mafia in me somewhere. And the Sicilians are a little darker. I'm kind of a little darker than some of my family. I used to say that I'm kind of joking, but not joking. When I was a kid, I actually thought I was adopted for a while because I was kind of a little darker than some in my family. So I thought that. So I always felt a little alienated. I guess I'm white, but maybe I always felt a little alienated. I don't know what it was. Anyway, yeah, I want to just finish off. I don't want to bring up the Kanye stuff again, just to kind of, I don't want to drag him through the mud or anything. I think that Kanye is doing the best he can. He is obviously going through some serious issues, and he needs our prayers. He doesn't need us to make fun of him or whatever. And he brought up a lot of good points, and he's being honest the way he sees it. And I think one thing that Kanye is helping us with is conversation. Unfortunately, I think he's doing it in a bad way, in the sense that he is broad brushing an entire group of people being Jews. Um, that being said, I do want to mention something to start out with, and that is I went to the beach too much, Fabian says. You're gonna throw me off here if I read too many comments at once. Well, hey, they say men can't. What do you call that? Multitask, right? I'm not a multitasker. Women apparently are better than that. Most men are not good at multitask. I don't even know how I put the show together. Push buttons and stuff. That's somehow a miracle that anything even shows up. But there's stereotypes. There are stereotypes among groups. Jews have a stereotype of overall money, money grubbing, things like that. Jews tend to be, and I'm doing a stereotype here, but tend to be clannish. There are obviously there are other groups that tend to be clannish. I think the black race in America is a little bit clannish, but Jews are definitely clannish. The Armenians, I was talking with my friend Armand the other night. He's got a lot of good feedback on things, and he was telling me about the Armenians are kind of like the Jews in a certain way. They have their own kind of clan, and that's kind of normal too. When people have come to America, that's happened with probably all the groups. You got your Chinatown over here and your whatever over here. So it's kind of somewhat normal. And the stereotypes that people say about Jews and Kanye says about Jews, yeah, he's in the music industry, and Jews tend to, again, stereotyping a little bit, but they tend to be overrepresented. I think that's fair to say, tend to be overrepresented in finance, in the entertainment business and things like that. So you're going to run into that. I mean, and Kanye coming in there, there's a feeling among some, especially in the black community, that you can only raise so high, and then you'll get clipped by the powers that be, who happen to be, a lot of them are Jews. And I think that's probably a lot of truth of that in the music business. Music is a commodity. It's an entertainment. It's something that is used to grab the minds of young people, and it's a very powerful thing. Music is very, very powerful. I mean, ask Satan, right? Satan was the head of music, right? In heaven. So music is a very powerful thing, and people who are controlling, and a lot of Jews are in a control position. A lot of white people, a lot of the elites are Jewish or white, or I don't know what the distinction is. So forgive me for the distinctions, but I kind of see Jew and white as two different groups. And say Kanye saw a lot of that, and he saw that he was allowed to rise to a certain point, and he actually rose very far, but there are people who are always trying to get theirs. And I'm sure he got cheated out of probably a lot of things. So he was bitter about that. So the problem is, I'm maybe getting ahead of myself spiritually here in the show, but the problem is when we see something and we have our emotions behind it, we have our anger and our resentments behind it, it colors things. And even if we're seeing something true, usually our emotions will tweak it a little bit for us. It'll kind of shadow it or tweak it a little bit so that we don't see it exactly as it really is. And that's one of the things that happened to Kanye. Or you get angry about something. And there are people, I'm going to talk about this in today's show too. There are people who try to troll us. They try to troll other people. Trolling is like a big thing these days. But what they're doing is they're trying to irritate or anger somebody else into making that other person look bad. And unfortunately, that happened with Kanye. He got angry, and now he looks bad. He's the one that puts a gimp mask on and looks crazy and goes on Alex Jones' show and makes Alex Jones look like a moderate. And it tends to, and then people are able to latch onto that and discount anything you say. I've had some wars recently regarding Trump. I almost hate to bring Fabian. I'm mentioning the name Trump here. Be careful. That's because I know it's a trigger word here. But really, I've had some of those same issues with Trump. Trump obviously did great things for America. Thank God for that. I voted for him twice. I supported him when his election was in question. I supported his challenges, all that stuff. Um, but the problem with that is that Trump can be his own worst enemy. So he invalidates some of the good work that he's doing sometimes with some of the things that he says, off the wall comments, and his apparently, I don't think one thing about Trump, he's very he's internal. He trusts his internal self a lot, which is great. But it doesn't look like he's mastered his emotions at this point. He's got some anger towards the people that did him wrong, understandably, probably going way back, as we all do. But it tends to invalidate you. If we're going to be successful, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about this, but if we're going to be successful as Christians, as conservatives, Americans, then we can't allow ourselves to be invalidated by the trolls. They're going to, and then that way, everything you said of value gets thrown out, and it can always be turned around on you and says, "Oh, you're angry. Oh, you're just an angry person." So as soon as someone says you're angry, you're invalidated. This goes back to one of Obama's mentors. What's that guy's name? The mentor for Obama, who has that book out, Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky, one of the things that he did, he had these rules in this book, Rules for Radicals. One of the things he's talked about is basically getting other people angry and making fun of them and laughing at them and things like that. You go online today and you see all sorts of people laughing at each other, and they make these little troll emojis, I mean these little laughing hysterically with tears coming out of my eyes. My son Paul was saying, when people are putting emojis on the screen with tears coming out of their eyes, they're not usually not laughing, and they're not happy. They're people who are really unhappy people. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a moment and look at some of your guys' comments there, because you guys are totally part of what we do here. So I appreciate all you guys, and I can't read everything. And some people write a lot more comments, so it makes it hard to see. It's helpful when you're doing comments, to not necessarily put a lot of comments. I know that we get into the stream of consciousness thing and just start typing, but it makes it kind of hard for me as a host to kind of look through and scan and see what people are doing. If I only see your comments, I have to choose which comment you're making. If you make 3 or 4 in a row, which one I should read, and then I don't read somebody else's comment. So I appreciate that. I ain't talking about anybody right now, but my friend knows who I am talking about. Okay. Sticks Base is here. Fabian says it's foolish to call the massive evil taking over the world by ethnicity rather than evil, pure evil possession. Yes, he talks about cults as well. I've talked about cult, and I probably will be talking about cults in the future, because cultism is a huge, huge problem in religion, in politics, in entertainment, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Okay. Fabian, you're a pretty funny dude. He says, scroll, dude, scroll. Hey, man, if I concentrate on scrolling, I can't concentrate on what the heck I'm talking about here. Okay, so I talked about Jews here. By the way, this I want to say a little thing here about, I mentioned trollism. Oh, I want to say something about alt-right movement, because the alt-right movement basically means the alternative right? I didn't even know what it meant. I had to look it up. But what I've noticed is the regular Christian conservative culture, that movement, has been replaced in America in the last, I don't know, 10 years, whatever it is, by what's called the alt-right. So the alt-right is kind of like almost, to me, it's like a false version of what is right taking over the actual right. And some of you might consider yourselves alt-right. I don't think we need to label ourselves as what we are. What I mean by alt-right typically is people that have gotten really into immigration, defending our borders, which I've always been into and always been helping to defend our borders. But people have made it into a white issue. And this is something I really want to talk about. This was mentioned to me uh, by people I talk to all the time. They were mentioned to me after last week, some comments that I made regarding that. But I kind of want to drill down on that a little bit, because immigration to me should be just, don't let people come over your borders illegally, right? Um, and the people who are coming is like Trump talked about. When Trump first came out in 2016, he came down the escalator. He talked about Mexico and immigration coming from Mexico. And he said Mexico is sending us their worst, basically. They're sending us rapists, uh, traffickers, um, people bring all this drugs. Fentanyl now, of course, is coming over. All this stuff, and of course, it doesn't. That doesn't even scratch the surface of the actual terrorists who are coming from other countries. I mean, it's a wonder we're even here still, folks. To be honest, I mean, we have an administration that is totally turning its back on the American people, and I believe, and many other people do, purposely destroying America, purposely bringing people over here who are destroying. And what Trump was talking about, he was talking about the Mexicans bringing these people over. That has become like a race issue. And a lot of people on the alt-right are saying, we need more white people here. We need more white babies and things like that. What is really going on is that Mexico, it's not the fact that they're bringing Mexican people over, or people who are brown skinned or whatever over here. The problem is that they are bringing their worst people here. And the culture of the people, this is what I really kind of want to drill down to again. It always comes back to culture. The culture of the people they're bringing in are some races, I'm going to cut to the chase here. Are some races better than others? A lot of people think yes. Okay. A lot of people, yeah, I'm better. I'm a white person. My race is better than yours. Or we have black supremacists, for instance. Yeah, we're the first people on earth. We're the best. Or maybe Jews is considered a race. Jews will say we're better. Look at our families. Look at all. Look at what God said. God said we're chosen, so we're obviously the best. Christians can say, well, we're brought in now. We're part of the tree. We have a simple religion based on forgiveness. We're the best. So it gets very complicated, but you kind of have to always bring it back to the fact that it's not the color of the people that came over. And I can hear people now, especially white people, saying, well, it is color because, as I've heard people say, oh, the other races are not creative. The other races are not as smart as white people. They don't do this as well as white people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I would submit to you that it's not the color of white people's skin. I would agree. And I said last week, this is what kind of got me in some trouble. I said, yeah, I would like to see more white babies in America, because the left is purposely knocking down the amount of white people that are coming in. White people were the majority in this country, and they're going to be minority at some point. And a lot of white people who are more like on the white supremacist side will say, see, white people are great. When you take out white people, you have a bad country. And I would say, look at the culture. Look at, and some cultures are better than others. You could argue some people will say certain religions are better than others, but some cultures are certainly better than others. And that's what I think we need to look at. White people as a general culture, you have the old kind of ancient European, you have the Greeks, ancient civilization. It was very advanced civilization, right? The Romans in some ways were very advanced. Of course, they were very advanced at cruelty also. They crucified Jesus. They were experts in the so-called science of pain. They were pain experts. And so there was some good and there was some bad. Overall, can we say that if you take, let's say you take Mexico, was it better that Cortez came and conquered the Aztecs? Which would be better, to have an Aztec culture, which was very high in certain ways, but in other ways quite low? There was a lot of satanic types of things going on. I mean, when you take one of the people who are your enemies, and you grab that person and you take them and cut their heart open, take out their beating heart, show it to your God, I would say you have an inferior culture. I would say thank God that Cortez came. Cortez, I know a lot about Cortez. I've studied this stuff pretty in depth. Cortez had a lot of faults. Yes, he did. But one thing he did, and the history books don't talk about this, when Cortez would go into a new area, he would destroy the not just the Aztecs, but some of the other tribes there. He would destroy their poles and their sacrificial items to their gods. And he was Catholic. He was a Christian. And part of the reason that they allowed him to even go there was because he was supposedly doing this on behalf. He was going to conquer on behalf of the crown and conquer on behalf of, in a way, the Catholic Church. So the fact that Cortez and then others came after him to conquer Mexico, I would say is a very good thing, because with all of the excesses that people can name about Cortez, at least they were Christian and they built cultures that were orderly. And in fact, one of the only reasons that Cortez succeeded is because the other Indian tribes that were down there, he was able to make alliances with them against the Aztecs. He only came with a certain small number of men. Some of you know the story. But he was able to make alliances with the other Indian tribes. And so they helped him overthrow Moctezuma and the Aztecs. It's a very interesting story. It's a fascinating story, actually. So it's culture. Yes, that culture is better. The culture that came from Europe tends to be stronger than, let's say, a third world culture. I think we should be able to kind of agree on certain points, just overall. Obviously, it has its excesses. Every culture does. But at least in terms of, just think of the culture that allowed us to come to America, and then the culture that we're inheriting from our founding fathers with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. You can't get that kind of governance unless you have some type of spiritual connection to God that works through human beings to bring a beautiful documents like these. So yes, the European culture, largely European culture that we had, is a superior type of culture in a certain way. And yet, it really comes down to, in the end, again, we're talking about Europe, a lot of that culture was built on Christianity. Paul, the Apostle Paul, sailed all over the Mediterranean. He sailed all over the area of where the Gentiles were. And the cultures that became Christian, even convinced, in a way, influenced the Roman culture. The Roman culture, what was that? Was it Constantinople? I might be messing this up. I'm thinking of something else. But the Roman culture became Christianized. And so that Christian culture, do you know that Christopher Columbus was Christian? And that he believed that, and you could say, oh, Columbus did this or Columbus did that. But you know what? He was a bold explorer, and he said the Spirit of God got into him and basically told him to come to the New World. And he came, and I think that was from God, right? He came to this new area that essentially is buffered, right, around it. At least North America is basically buffered from other places. And I believe that was from God. And so that culture that's come to America is not because you're white skinned. If you're a white racist and you think, oh, yeah, my culture, my race is better than yours, you are the beneficiary. You're standing on the shoulders of whoever came before you. And they're standing on the shoulders of somebody else. And they're standing on the shoulders of people like Paul and ultimately of the Holy Spirit. Just like Columbus was influenced, the Spirit influenced him. So the alt-right has become kind of like this white supremacist thing, and that's very troubling to me. I think we've lost, and we need to come back to the culture that we originally had, which was a conservative. I'm proud to say I'm a conservative. Am I a perfect conservative? Oh, I ain't a perfect conservative, but I do the best I can. And every day I'm getting better. Sometimes it feels like I'm taking a step back and then I take a couple more forward. But through the Holy Spirit, I believe the Holy Spirit is guiding me and many of you out there to be a better person as we pay attention to God, as we give God the glory and allow the Holy Spirit to work through us. We become a culture that is beautiful. If we were to do that, we would have no issues. But you guys, I think part of the reason I'm doing the show tonight, and I'll get back to the comments in a minute, is to kind of point that out. There's so much factionalism that's going on, and there are people who benefit from the factionalism. They benefit from that factionalism, and it's tearing our country apart. We've got one race versus another. We've got one religion versus another. We have men versus women. We have black versus white. We have rich versus poor. We have these different things. There's no way we could make it unless we're united America. Okay. Fabian, okay, I can see you didn't listen to me and wrote a bunch of comments. You're going to force me to scroll here. Donna said, I believe there is good and bad in all races. Absolutely. Yay. Sticks Base said, yay, Farrakhan probably brainwashed him. Let me give you an example. Well, I'm going to read, see if I've got something from Fabian here before, and I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you one of the Kanye, just little pieces of Kanye videos to kind of remind you what's being done here. There's a trolling situation going on. That's one of the unfortunate things that Kanye is doing right now is he's trolling the Jews. He's angry, he's lashing out, and he's trolling. He's trying to get some good because he's going to get back at the Jews. All right. Cortez was outraged at the massive, Fabian says, human sacrifice, so he made war on them. Well, he was going to make war on them anyway. But yes, he was outraged at the sacrifices. That's for sure. Aztecs, yeah, very sick. Yes, I understand they were sick. Okay. Yes. Fabian said I would call it civilization, not culture. You can call it what you want. The point is it's man-made, right? Whether it's culture, civilization, or even religion, it's kind of man-made. The Spirit of God is through God, and therefore we don't have. There's no factionalism in God. There's no factionalism in the Spirit. So that's what we're missing. We're missing the Spirit. We've had so many things to distract us that we've pulled away, and we're missing the Spirit. All right, let's see. Six Base says. Crazy how peeps prefer to live in white cultures while calling whites and only whites racist. Well, yeah, there's a lot of people that do that, and they're kind of benefiting from America and all it offers, and at the same time calling people racist, or they're communists, right? But they're here either to just tear us down or to benefit from to make some money. Communists at the top always have made a lot of money. So communism is not about what they show everybody. It's about people at the top taking what they want. Let me just show you a couple of quick ones on Kanye here, just to show you this idea of oh, Mo, can you tell me if I'm still rolling here? Am I still on? All right. I hit the wrong button. I told you guys it's a miracle I'm hitting the right buttons. And actually, after that, I hit the wrong button and took myself off. I was sorry about that, guys. I was looking for a video here, and I completely went out of the studio. Here's Kanye. Now, look at Kanye. This is how angry you can get. Discredit yourself by wearing a crazy mask, like I said last week. Listen to what he says about Hitler. This is a very quick one here.
Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
Well, okay, watch when people tell you things. A lot of times you will hear a lot of truth from people, and then they'll throw in something off the wall. Farrakhan's good at this. I've worked with people like this that are very good at that. They'll tell you some great truths, and then they'll just throw in something kind of a little bit weird that kind of messes up the whole thing, unfortunately. So everybody has some value. Yeah, Hitler did probably some okay things in his life, like everybody. But why would you say everybody has something of value, especially Hitler, right? Unless you're trolling people. He did not have anything more especially of value than other people. Okay, arguably a lot worse. Here's another one where watch the troll here. I'm showing you trolling here as it works. Here's another one where Kanye does a perfect, well, not perfect troll, but he does a troll.
I don't think Hitler was a good guy. I get the Hugo Boss uniforms, amazing. But I mean, just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say like you like the uniforms, but that's about
No, there's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things.
Why would you say certain things unless you are trying to get a response from people? So that's a perfect one from Kanye. Kanye said a lot of great things, and he just basically invalidated all of them with making these stupid comments here. And then this guy, Nick Fuentes, I don't know a lot about him, but I know he's one of these alt-right guys. He apparently is into the replacement theory that I talked about, that whites are being replaced in America by other races and things like that in order to the idea is to lower the culture. Of course, if you're looking at today's white people and you're trying to keep the culture strong, white people had a lot stronger culture back 20 years ago than they do now. So I don't think the white culture in general, everything that white people complain about other cultures, white people are doing too. White people have really lost a lot, really lost a lot over time. So, same thing with the black community. The black community now has abortions out of control. The black community now, even today, although they kind of started voting more for Trump, they, as a group, vote for the Democrat Party, probably still 85%, right? And that means they're voting socialist. So there is a connection between the black community and socialism. The average black person, when you talk to them, is not, everything's fine. I mean, there's no problem. But somewhere in the culture, the black, through the black churches or whatnot, they believe that that the Democrat Party was their friends. Even now, I think there's starting to be a little bit of wake up, though, because the Brandon administration is so obvious. They are trying to replace the white worker. They're trying to replace the black constituent who is a part of this country with illegal aliens, the citizens, black citizens. They're trying to replace black citizens with illegal aliens and just flooding them over the border. And God knows who, as I said, who else is coming over. But they know that they're losing the black vote. They saw that in 2016 began. They saw it in 2020. They can read the numbers. And essentially what the Democrat Party is saying, we're ready to have to dump the black community because we can't trust them anymore. And they are going to bring in, hopefully, in their minds, people from below the border who mostly happen to be brown because of where we are below the border, are countries that are browner skinned people. And they're hoping to bring people in who are not just brown, but who are not very literate, who don't know the founding documents, who are, bringing diseases over that tend to cripple our healthcare system, who are bringing drugs in, which is tending to just mess up America in a big way. So the Democrat Party is onto that. But if you look back in history, you will see, and I've looked at this to some extent, and it appears to be very true. The white culture was stronger then than it is now. Just look at the abortions, look at the out of control, look at the drug use, look at the gender dysphoria, as they say, men, changing their sexes to women and vice versa and all that. Kids even, my God. If you look at that in the white community, obviously it's gone horribly wrong. But the same thing has happened in the black community. If you look, I think it was in like the 50s, they looked at the numbers in the black community in terms of the percentages of people who were married, for instance. There was more intact married families in the black community during that time than the white community that is always talked about as being this, beacon of culture. And so obviously it has nothing to do with race. So this whole race thing, this superior fight that people are, it's just another tool that people are using to get you to fight each other. So you're not united next to the other American next to you. It's just a tactic. And I hope, if nothing else, we get that out of today's show. I'm gonna discuss Nick Fuentes in a moment here. I'm gonna show you a little bit of video on Nick Fuentes because he's the guy who accompanied Kanye to meet with Trump, along with, I think, Milo was there. I think Milo was there as well to go to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump. And they kind of sandbagged Trump. So Trump wasn't ready for the meeting. But it looks like people like Nick Fuentes are getting kind of like raising their own whatever on the destruction of his so-called friend Kanye. If you're a friend to Kanye right now, you would get him aside and say, look, you're screwing this up. This is mostly about you. You're mad about your marriage. You're mad about your life. You're mad about losing your kids. Quit blaming somebody else for the stuff. You got plenty of money. Quit worrying about the money that supposedly Jews took from you, and get your life together. And I would recommend someone like Kanye, truly find God. Don't just talk about Christianity, but truly find God. Seek God and seek his wisdom and seek his Holy Spirit and pray and meditate. We often talk about meditation. We haven't done a lot of meditation lately on the show, but we were for a while. But yeah, go to a place like FHU.com and check out the 7-minute meditation. There was a meditation that was rediscovered. Meditation is just it's not a man-made thing, really. It's just a thing. But Roy Masters, the late Roy Masters, had some amazing instructions on helping people to meditate. But whatever you do, if that, try that out. Someone like Kanye, do something, find God, find the stillness. You're looking for, to keep this real simple, you're looking for love, the love that is inside you. The kingdom of heaven is within, what Jesus said. You're looking for the Spirit, the love of the Spirit inside you. In order to do that, a lot of people, that's what they will do. They will be quiet. Some people will put their fingertips together, they'll close their eyes, and they will look for the love inside them. I've been a hard case, so I'm probably not the best person to tell people what they should do or whatnot, but I am being benefited by that as I do it. Have I turned around in one day? No, I didn't snap my fingers and become, start floating away on a cloud. I still have anger that comes up. I still have issues that I'm wrong about. I want to treat myself better and my family better and those around me better. So I'm doing the best I can. And meditation is a tool that has helped me a lot. I really don't know where I would be without it, because I was struggling I was really messed up until I found some way to quiet down and look within. I'm going to go to my comments here. They're starting to pile up, and I'm going to go back to the Nick Fuentes, who's on the right and seems to be making a career off of the downfall of his so-called friend Kanye, or Ye. I'm going to show a little video about that in a few minutes. It's a very sad thing to see. Okay, let me scan the comments a little bit. Keep in mind here, guys, that I am doing a show, and I noticed last week when I was after the show and I'd look at the comments, I'd have a little more time and I could, I get what he meant here. I meant here. So one of the things I'm hoping to do is slow down a little bit so I can understand all the comments, or as much of them as I can. So I think what I was doing, I'm kind of like looking at the thing and I'd say, okay, well, if I'm not entertaining people, then people will fall off and things like that. And you know what? I have to just risk that in order to slow down a little bit in order to understand better and hopefully give the people who are watching the stream better value. So understand that I do need to slow down a little bit and just bear with me here, if you would, for a moment, because I want to see your comments. And oh, there's so many here. Oh, they said I went off the screen. Yeah, that was a little bit ago. Black. Oh, Black Peace Sale Radio says, why can't you say, I'm not sure what. I don't remember her holding anything back here. So let me know what you're talking about. Oh, Mind Over Energy says, say what? The statement made by Kanye. Well, okay, I made the statement already, right? This is maybe an old comment. I already made the statement made by Kanye. Ye is praising Hitler for murdering Jews. Yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad. And again, this Holocaust thing too. If you're going down this rabbit hole of denying the Holocaust, I think that Nick Fuentes might be one of these people. Are we really going to argue? I said this last week, but it bears repeating. Are we really going to argue about how many people Adolf Hitler had killed? Are you really going to stand on that argument? You really want that to be your legacy, that you stood up and said, no, 6 million Jews. It was not 6 million Jews. Okay, you tell me how many Jews were killed. I think history, reputable history books will tell you that it was in the millions. And yes, other people were killed too. And we're not slighting other people or other groups. I'm not an expert on which groups. I know that the undesirables of society essentially were people that the Nazis wiped out, okay, including Jews and others. Okay, let's see. Oh, Black Peace Sales Radio says wrong according to who? Okay, understand this show is about if we can't agree that murdering millions of people is wrong, you've got a problem. Okay, you need to see a shrink or you need to go see God, because I'm not going to argue that with you. We're really going to have an argument about whether the Holocaust was wrong. Come on, man, help yourself here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I agree. Mind over energy mode should be obvious. So come on. All right. Where are all the chats? Well, the chats are here. Fabian, did we lose some chats? I'm reading them right now. Why don't we? Okay, here's one. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but what the heck? Stickspace says, why can't we let Ukrainians who can't fight Putin come here instead of La Raza, who wants to be part of Mexico? Well, that's right. You keep your country and bring in who you want. It's like your house. You bring in the guests that you want, that make sense, that are a plus to you, and that are coming here legally, as Trump used to say, legally. Okay. If you do that, you have room to bring in, you have some discretionary space to bring in maybe some people that are refugees or whatnot. I know that the left also has used the refugee movement. The people that are in charge of things, I really believe, have used wars as a way to erase borders. So they've used these wars as a way to just push refugees and bring them all into Europe. I mean, Europe has been, just like America, has been really completely overrun. Europe used to be very Christian. That's where Paul went in the old days with his ministry. Europe was very Christian. There's a huge upswing in Islam. We can maybe do a show on that at some point, but all sorts of people who are just kind of flooding in, who are not part of the culture, who are not willing, whatever your religion is, whether it's Islam or something else, you're coming in and not assimilating into the existing structure. You're a problem. And so, yes, we shouldn't have so much illegal immigration, so that we can find, there might be, I'm sure there are some Ukrainians who could make sense that they could come here if they're checked out appropriately, of course, like everybody else. But we can't do that so much. How much room do you have when you're flooding the country? And then you get the American people who not really going to be too much on your side because they're already being flooded. So if you want people like Ukrainians coming in, then you have to also stand against the onslaught of illegal aliens that are coming in. Okay. Okay, Black Peace, I already talked about whatever. I already showed Kanye's comments. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about. You need to be very clear here, guys. If you want me to say something or do something, don't say it. Whatever it is, tell me what it means. I'm not a mind reader. All right. I'm going to show you what Nick Fuentes said here, how he went to this. He was on also with Alex Jones. He was at the Trump meeting. He was also at the meeting at the podcast, Tim Pool's podcast, where Kanye walked out after Tim Pool asked him some pretty simple, tried to ask him basic, very simple question, didn't barely even get his questioning out before Kanye split. And he was there at the Alex Jones thing with Kanye with a gimp mask over his head. Tim, what's his name? Nick Fuentes is sitting there nodding at everything that Kanye is doing. We don't need yes men, okay? We need people to stand as individuals and love your brother. Don't take advantage of your brother. Okay, here we go.
So after Kanye West went on Alex Jones' show and had a public meltdown, everybody's talking about it. You know, it's just quite an event, right? This absolute superstar, A-list celebrity, he was on top of the world, and now he's praising Hitler in a gimp mask on Alex Jones' show and making Alex Jones look like the moderate. Like, what? What are we talking about here? Well, Nick Fuentes is still, you know, buddy with Kanye. Milo isn't. We'll get to that in a little bit. Milo is not. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Nick Fuentes still is. So Nick Fuentes is out there. He's going to try to run interference, run cover for Kanye and everything he said and everything he did.
And the big headline is, of course, the most provocative stuff. And I kind of don't like this about the interview. I thought the interview was like a movie. It was a great interview. The whole 3 hours are totally compelling. It's funny. It's informative. It's interesting. But the media, of course, is only focusing on the part where he said he loved Hitler. So what's that all about? He said other things, too.
Yeah. You know, he said other things, too. Could you hear any of them after he says, I love Hitler? You know, this is a left-wing people making fun of Kanye, which is unfortunate because Kanye has some good stuff. He's a brilliant guy. He has value to bring to America. And unfortunately, he's gone the wrong way. I'm going to ignore you, Black Peace Radio, Sales Radio, whatever, the Soul Radio. At this point, I'm not going to, you know, if you can't say what you have on your mind and you're going to play games, well, I'm going to have to ignore you. Okay. So sorry. Okay. Now, let me take let me move to a next point here. And I mentioned, I'm going to make sure I hit some of my points I really wanted to hit, but I pretty much got most of these things. Okay. So I'm going to get into another, just to kind of finish out the show, I'm going to get into another point, and I almost hesitate to get into this because this person that I was involved with, I've told my story about this person. I think he's a terrible person. He's got a lot of truth that he tells, but I know the real person, and there are sociopaths out there. One of them is Fauci, by the way. There's a lot of sociopaths out there, but they'll tell you certain things. Of course, Fauci doesn't even tell that much truth, really. But there's people that are sociopathic. They tell a lot of truth, and they'll throw something else in there to get you. The key is what their intention is, and you can kind of tell what their intentions are if you look very closely. So let me go to this one. There was a show I saw recently. I don't even bother watching this guy's show anymore, but he was on a major show, so a lot of people did see it. So I do want to make a comment on it because he's talking about white in America, white people, white culture. He's basically saying other races are not creative, and other races are destroying America. And he's kind of broad brushing. There's obviously always a little truth in some of the stuff, and then he's broad brushing, and I think he's really doing a disservice here. But I want to show you this because also there was a reaction video to this with a guy who I really respect, and he brought up another aspect which I want to talk about for a minute here, and we're going to get into free speech a little bit. So you may not know exactly what I'm saying here, but just to kind of introduced this video. I almost hate using this guy's name, but there is a preacher named Jesse Lee Peterson, also used to be known as Reverend, but he had to pull that title off for some reasons I'm not going to get into right now. And he was on Dr. Phil show, which is shown on major network, and it's out there. And he made a few good points about the culture of too many single women with babies, and we're having to support them and support illegals with babies and things like that. Hey, those are all fair game, and they're good point. But when you start talking about culture, black and white, I've noticed a long time ago with this guy that he tended to say that he was rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. But if you looked around him, the families were not being rebuilt. They were splitting apart. And he said he was uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. But if you notice, I noticed, and a lot of people noticed, that the races were actually white. He's kind of like emboldening white folks to get angry. And his congregation used to be very strongly black, and that went away. A lot of the old congregation just left, including, I think, the vast majority of the black congregation that he used to have. Now he seems in last few years to be appealing to young white males. And again, if you're doing something helpful, more power to you. But if you're doing something that looks like you are actually causing more problems between races than solving them, even if you throw some truth into that, I have a problem with you. I'm going to play this clip right now. Again, I thought about this before doing it. I'm saying, do I want to give this guy any airtime? But I think this needs to be answered, this kind of stuff, once and for all, because this guy is part of this culture war that we're having, this race war. And I don't see what he and some of these other people are doing is helping the matter whatsoever. What they're doing is trolling and trying to get people angry. I think it's quite obvious, at least if you watch for a certain period of time. And again, I was with this guy for years, so I watched and saw some pretty awful things. All right, let me play this.
You're a pastor, right?
Yes.
And you're a radio host?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you believe white people should have more children?
We definitely need white babies. And I tremble at the idea that white babies.
Look at this woman right here in the back. Wait, Jesse Lee Peterson. He's a hell of a troll, man. Let me rewind this.
More children?
We definitely need white babies. And I tremble at the idea that white babies, that the white group is going down in numbers, because if you lose white folks, America, it's over for America. Because if you notice, white people tend to be more innovative. They're more creative. They have ideas about things. All these other races don't do nothing but destroy. They don't build, they destroy.
I said you'd piss off everybody. I was wrong. Now you've pissed off everybody. Do you have a story?
Oh my God, bro. Those reactions was priceless. But again, that's free speech. That is free speech. Now again, if that came out of a white person's mouth, they would say he's a white supremacist, right? I mean, they say that about Jesse Lee Peterson anyways. But I'm just saying, whether you agree or disagree with the guy, him saying that in and of itself, even if you disagree, even if you reject it immediately, you still thought about it.
Yeah. So I just found that interesting because in that black conservative perspective, and I like his channel. He's a pretty level-headed dude. But to me, free speech is great. Free speech is not the greatest end all. Okay. Free speech is the means to an end. So yeah, free speech is great. And what I noticed is a lot of people, especially on right and left, are trolling each other. And my old friend here, who's no friend of mine anymore, he's a master troller. So he trolls people, and people who are trolling the other side, it's like they're playing some kind of a sport. As America goes down, they're playing a sport to see if they can get the other side, and they can. And if they can get the other side and make their point, it doesn't matter. Like, in other words, we should be a United States of America. Whatever differences we have should be able to be worked out. When you start saying that you say some points that are very good, and then say, well, the other race is just destroyed, just broad brushing. You're just broad brushing all the other. How do you think the average Black person or the average Hispanic person or anybody other than white is going to react to saying the other races just destroy? Is that going to like help unite the races? So anyway, I wanted to throw that in towards the end there. And again, I haven't mentioned this guy in weeks, and I don't really intend to. But if something comes out into the major, it's in front of all of us, and it really needs to be discussed. And this is right up the alley of what we're talking about today. It needs to be dealt with. All right. So I hope that you guys got something out of tonight's show. Go to, for more information, go to oldschoolus.com, oldschoolus.com to see what we're doing. Natural health, success, and freedom. I had somebody call and yell at me yesterday about not doing enough natural health stuff lately. I agree. I'm going to be doing much more on that. During COVID, I just kind of went all the way out to really try to deal with a lot of the lies that were going on. And I took a lot of hits on because of that. But I thought it was very important. I still think it's very important to get the truth out there. But I'm going to be doing some more stuff. I might even do something as soon as coming soon. I don't want to make any promises here, but I want to do something about diet and the effect of diet on human beings. What is the best diet for human beings, and things like that. So I'm going to do probably a small panel with that maybe next week, but I will be dealing much more with that. And it's been kind of pushed to the side because my health stuff has been related to COVID stuff, as you might imagine, over the last several years, mostly. So natural health, success, and freedom. If you want to reach me, you have an idea for a show or somebody that should be on the show or topic or what have you, or anything, you just want to talk about something that I've talked about today and you weren't able to get it out, you can email me at info@oldschoolus.com. And I think we're good. Did I get it? Yeah. Thank you, Mind Over Energy, about those clips. I think those clips needed to be dealt with. So hopefully I did the right thing here. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Have a great Sunday. Thanks for being with me. And we will see you next week, right? Wait a minute here. All right. Got to have the music. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for being here tonight. We'll see you next week.